Hi, I'm Sandy and today we are upping our scrap game. Now, if this is your first time here, let me explain. So we've been on a mission to destash our leftover fabric scraps because every time you sew something, you've got leftover fabric scraps to deal with, right? Now, you can either toss them, which is a major waste of cute fabric, or you can stash it until it's taking up half your sewing space like me. Luckily, there's an alternative, choosing scrappy projects to use them on before it gets to that. So today we're making a large blanket using scraps, because scraps aren't just meant for quilt blocks, tiny quilt blocks. You can actually make whole blankets too. The result is amazing and super original. Let me show you what I mean. Okay, so today we're making a chakra blanket using leftover fabric. And even though I've made these blankets for years and years now, this is the first time I'm attempting to make it with scraps. Usually I just cut 7 9x40-inch strips of fabric and I'm done. But that's not what I'll be doing here today. Today I am joining leftover scraps to make those 7 strips I need for my chakra blanket. And I've got my scraps right here. I just went into my pile and took everything yellow I could find, within the sizes I needed. And essentially what we'll be doing is we will be sewing enough scraps together until we get the size we need. More specifically, I'll start by sewing an 80 by 5-inch strip of fabric, okay? Okay guys, and this is what we get. One really long strip. Now you could use same size pieces for this one, but for me, I'm using random sizes as long as they are 5-inch tall, okay? Because my scrap sizes vary a lot, so instead of having to find exact size pieces, which are fewer, I just combine larger with smaller ones. And I think it actually works for this project because it's a really organic project, okay? It's chakras, it's rainbow colors, and I just need it to flow really well. Also, for the exact same reason, I don't really pay much attention to the fabric sequence, okay? As long as the same fabrics weren't touching, it was good. Okay, so we have cut our 80-inch strip in half, so now we have 2 new 40-inch strips, and what we're going to do is we're going to sew them together to make this larger little strip, okay? And here we have it. Our brand new 40 by 9-inch strip. Let me see if it's 9. Probably a little bit more. Yeah, it's a little bit more, but that's not a problem. We can totally trim that, okay? So 9.5 inches is what we're looking for each one of these strips. And as you can see, some fabrics do kind of touch. And again, I am fine with that for this particular project because I know that in the end, it will all look nice and fluid when I'm done. But if this doesn't work for you, you know what to do. Make sure those same fabrics aren't touching at all when you're making the original strips and you're good to go. Okay guys, so next step before we even trim is just pressing our seams nice into place. And I have to say I love making chakra blankets, chakra quilts, anything chakra really. It's the colors for me. Well, I love the little chakras I made and I will be showing them to you in a bit. But to me, it's the colors. The colors are perfect. It's nature's combination and nature is never wrong. So of course they would be absolutely lovely. Okay guys, so this is my yellow strip, all nice and pressed. And now all I need is to repeat this step 6 other times for the remaining chakra colors. 7 patchwork strips made out of scraps of fabric I had lying around, mismatched, all working so beautiful together, like I promised. When it's all together, it just makes sense in a way that it didn't necessarily make sense when it was all apart. Okay, I am ready to join all my strips together in the following order: purple, dark blue, light blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. As you can see, this is a natural progression because, you have the green between the blue and the yellow. And if you were to continue this sequence, you would have, purple next, which is a combination of the red and the dark blue, and so on and so forth. This is quite perfect. It's nature's perfection, not mine, but it's actually a little bit of magic as far as I'm concerned. Okay, we are ready to sew. Let's get sewing. Okay guys, and here we have it. Our blanket top patchwork is complete. Let me see if I can show you from way afar. Yeah, it's a big one. Can you see it? Oh gosh, yeah, I need a bigger sewing space. Okay guys, now comes the very exciting time to add the chakras and complete our top. Okay, and here are my chakras, all 7 of them. Let me just... Oh wait, there's a part of this one missing. There's also... Wait. This one is also 2 parts in. These are our 7 chakras. They aren't in any particular order. They will be once we're finished, but they're not right now. And this is the crown chakra. So what I do is I iron these on, I press them with my iron and add them to the blanket top. I have cut these in my Silhouette Cameo using templates I've made myself for these specific blankets, for these quilts, for these chakra products that I created. And I always use white for better contrast because, all those 7 colors, white works really well on them. And I think they will pop, particularly when I add them to this patchwork that we just created. I have added some fusible interfacing that once you iron basically glues to the fabric. It's Heat and Bond, I think. It's usually the brand I use. I don't think I've ever tried another one, but if you know another brand of fusible interfacing that doesn't dry as hard as Heat and Bond, please let me know, because for me it's the only thing I would like to change about this product is not making these chakras so hard once they dry. They get really hard, really stiff, and I wish they would just blend in with the fabric. I think that would be quite perfect. So if you know of another way to do it, please let me know. And that way I make sure that regardless of how many times this blanket gets washed, if it's glued and then sewn, they'll never move, they'll never fall off. So let's do that. Okay, so the first step to adding our chakras is determining where the center of our blanket is, okay? So we just go here, we fold this in half. Should be nice and trimmed-ish. Somewhat trimmed. And then we just start pressing the middle. That's where our iron comes in real handy. We just press it, and that way we know exactly where the middle is. We need to be really certain that this is the middle, or before we're done, we'll start veering left or veering right and ruining the whole thing. Because, if I'm honest, some distortions, I only notice them once they're finished, and by then it's too late. So take your time to do this carefully, okay? Okay, and now we start adding the chakras, because now we know where our middle is. Let's start with the crown chakra, which I already held. It's this little cutie right here, and this is the middle. So we have to keep in mind that, the purple and the red one, so the one at the top and the one at the bottom, will need a seam allowance for the binding. So I am going to be directing it more towards the bottom than the top. Now guys, I have to confess that even though I am loving this patchwork version, it is not, how do I put this? It is not a commercially sound option. Meaning it's not something I'll probably be adding to my shop. Well, I could sell it, but I would have to increase the price somewhat. Because here's the thing, the natural process, and the one I have shown you on my previous video, is simple. Cutting the strips, sewing the strips together, adding the chakras, making the sandwich with the blanket, sewing it all, and we're done. This one, the time it took me to get the squares, to sew the squares, to do all that, was so time consuming. I'm pretty sure this took me, twice as long as it would take me to just make, to cut the strips, sew them together, and so on. So it's not doable at all, not for the price I'm asking at least. I would have to create like this new listing and do a particular price range just for this one, because otherwise it wouldn't be worth it. It really wouldn't. This is so time consuming. And if you think about it, I think that's one of the reasons why we tend to hoard so much scraps. We don't want to toss it, we don't want to throw it away, but at the same time, we just know that it takes much more time to find scraps than it does to just go ahead and cut new squares or new whatever shapes we want out of new fabric. But for this one, because I got to make this video with you guys, totally worth it, totally cute, and I am loving this because I will only do it once. And you guys will hopefully be very happy with this video. And everyone will be happy. Okay, so yellow. I have to check the sequence. I never know the sequence to the chakras, I have to say. I have made so many already. I know like the first two and the last two, and the others are just too similar for me. I really struggle to know which ones go in which place. I know I have told the story before on the other chakra blanket video, but I will tell it again. I have created these chakras on an airplane. I was coming home, everybody around me was asleep. It was like this really late flight. It was Christmas and all. I had nothing better to do. So I just decided to pick up my computer, my laptop, and draw myself 7 chakras because I really love the symbols. I think they're beautiful. The colors, as I said, are magical to me, and so I wanted, you know, chakras of my own that I could use without reservations and make something really special. Okay, last one, the square one. And again, I'm very careful about the seam at the bottom. I do not want it to be too close. Here's our triangle right in the middle. And as you can see, I am not measuring in any shape or form. I've told you before, for me, this project is really fluid. It's really organic. It goes where it goes. And they really aren't two alike, because I suspect they never really go in the exact same place. I love that about it, actually. I think it's extra special. Okay guys, let me show you how this looks with the chakras. How's that? Is it gorgeous? Okay guys, now all there's left for us to do for this video today is to sew on the chakras onto the top of our blanket. And the reason why I won't be showing you all the steps to complete this blanket in this video is because I have actually made a chakra blanket before, you know, a couple of months ago, where I have shown you each and every step, the exact steps. And you know, to be honest, the only difference between that video and this one here is this one is bigger, it's 40 by 60, and the other one was a baby quilt. And second, it's patchwork, okay? For the others, I use a single strip of fabric. Other than that, the steps are exactly the same. And I actually show you how I cut the chakras on the silhouette cameo, and I actually show you how I quilted. I show the whole thing, so no need to do that again today. Today, it is all about the scraps. Today, it is all about the patchwork, and that is actually what I promised you. A big, gorgeous, stunning, unique blanket made out of scraps, turned into something wonderful. And essentially, what I wanted to show you is how you can do the exact same thing you would do with new fabric, but you know, with a couple of twists and a couple of work, you can do something, you know, that's equally gorgeous or even more gorgeous, and use your scraps and make what is for so many people useless leftover scraps of fabric into something very worthy, very gorgeous, very worth keeping, very worth using, okay? That is my mission here. So let me show you how I sew my chakras onto my fabric. So first, we need to roll this up. And before I'm finished with this blanket, I will be sewing it once again, so I will be double sewing these chakras. The difference is I will be doing it once the blanket is complete, which means I will be feeding a whole big blanket filled with synthetic lamb's wool, which is quite bulky, through my sewing machine. Luckily, it has quite a wide arm, so I think it will survive. Mushy. Mushy. Yeah, this may be a problem. So she has come to supervise. I have two supervisors actually, Julieta and Mushi. These are my supervisors. They make me work really, really hard, and plus their food is really expensive, so yeah. Okay, so I need to switch the foot. This won't work for what I want to do because it has that guide that just keeps getting stuck to the fabric, and that's not what we want. So I'm getting a regular foot with no guide because I'm going to sew it. And yes, you can sew it with a regular foot. You don't need like a free you don't need like a free motion quilting foot or anything like that. This will be more than enough. And here we go. So all there's left to do now to complete this blanket is to add the synthetic lamb's wool to the back. So this one right here, do you know this stuff? It is very durable, it is very warm. You can wash it as many times as you want, no problem at all. But essentially what I do is I place the top of the blanket on top of the lamb's wool, right sides together. I pin the whole thing like crazy and I sew all around it, leaving a small gap. Okay, that's what I use to put my hand, turn it inside out, and then I just sew a few straight lines, you know, in each of the different strips of fabric to lock them in place. Now, the final step is sewing these chakras once again so that you can have that chakra shape in the back of the blanket. You see, you can look at the synthetic lamb's wool and you can spot the chakra printed into it. It's not printed, it's sewn, but it's definitely there. You know, it's such a cute and special touch and people really go crazy about it. And once I do that, I will be done with this blanket. You know, this lovely 40 by 60 inch lap blanket will be complete and ready to be shipped to its new home. I have to say, I really love the patchwork. I think it worked out perfectly, and I'm just loving how small my scrap pile is looking even more. Thank you for doing this with me. I really enjoyed doing this with you. I hope you did too, and I will see you really, really soon. Bye bye.